Hello, I'm Nicole Martin. Thank you for joining us on Trending Now. Tonight, Hockey Canada in the hot seat yet again as calls for change in the organization grow. The former and interim board chairs testifying in the nation's capital, defending the settlement to a 2018 sexual assault and sticking up for top leadership despite widespread criticism.
Do you understand why it looks to the general public like Hockey Canada is condoning that behavior?
I understand there is a perspective out there, and I do, with great respect, disagree with it.
We'll have reaction tonight from sports analyst Ashley Docking and one of the Conservative members of Parliament who spent the morning grilling the head of the board.
Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys. By now, we're assuming you've seen the Reddit threads and TikToks and tweets and news articles.
And a little later, the popular internet quartet, the Try Guys, well, they're now a trio. It follows what remaining members call a shocking infidelity scandal. We'll break down all of your top trending stories of the day. Well, it has been the #1 trending topic across the country with reason. The testimony of Hockey Canada's past and current board of directors has drawn sharp criticism from political parties of all stripes, along with the nation as a whole. Andrea Skinner and the board's past chair were on the defensive as members of a Commons committee questioned them about its handling of alleged sexual assaults and how money from membership fees was paid out in lawsuits. Interim Hockey Canada board chair Andrea Skinner and former chair Michael Brindamore on the defense today as federal MPs grilled them on the hockey body's handling of payouts after an alleged sexual assault.
The stories we're hearing around Hockey Canada are different from the stories of abuse that we're hearing from other sports. And I'm wondering if you can comment on that. I'm wondering if you can talk about the hockey culture and why you think we're hearing specific stories about hockey and not other sports.
That I talk about sexual assault and the way we treat women as being a societal problem. It's a social issue. It's triggered by the environments we exist in. I think we need to not just sit back and condemn hockey, but take a broader view of this and say, how can we fix this in every sport and everywhere?
Hockey Canada has been under the national microscope since May when a Globe and Mail report revealed it settled a lawsuit with a woman who alleged she was sexually assaulted by up to 8 players from the 2018 junior men's hockey team at a gala event in London, Ontario that year.
The players walked away with no consequences, and so the behavior can continue because the top, Hockey Canada, is saying we'll pay, we'll make it go away, and the players can just continue, and no one will ever hear any further details.
And we've got an investigation that's ongoing, and we put in a place so that players will have to participate in that investigation so that the truth can be discovered.
Repeatedly, Skinner was asked if the president and CEO of Hockey Canada, Scott Smith, should be fired.
And you've decided, contrary to all of the literature out there, all of the research that has been done that would say start with the leader, and you have said, no, we are going to protect the leader, we are going to keep the leader, and somehow magically still change culture. Is that correct?
No, I'm sorry, respectfully, I disagree with that.
When asked to grade CEO Scott Smith, Skinner gave the leader an A, adding that the board doesn't believe Smith should be replaced.
I think this shows that there's a clear discrepancy between how the leadership of Hockey Canada views the management of Hockey Canada and how this committee of all parties and the Canadian public views the leadership of Hockey Canada.
The Liberal MP adding that this type of behavior, standing behind current leadership, will not win back Canadians from coast to coast to coast. But listen, amid all of Hockey Canada's reckoning, we can't forget that sexual violence is at the center of it. Rape culture has made the headlines, but how many times does a victim, a survivor, need to describe their trauma? We talked about the impact of this case and what really needs to change here with the Canadian Women's Foundation.
Kind of organizational change, you need buy-in from the top levels. So if it's not emanating from there, it's very difficult to complete the change process. It looks like the moment in time we're in is still a kind of denial. It's still a kind of, we don't really need to change a lot. And in actual fact, they do need to change a lot. I mean, I haven't heard the word zero tolerance come out of anyone in this Hockey Canada conversation yet, but that's where it should be. I mean, this is criminal violence, and there should be zero tolerance rather than silence.
Joining us tonight is Conservative MP representing Saskatoon Grasswood, Kevin Waugh. Mr. Waugh, you spent 2 hours questioning the former and interim board chairs. We were able to show some of those exchanges to our viewers, but what stood out most to you when it came to the response to the allegations?
You know, it was really frustrating today because both Skinner and Brindamore defended Hockey Canada right to the inch result at the end, and it was really disappointing. It's deaf ears on the current board and former board chair, and Canadians have a right to be totally upset with the way Hockey Canada is run right now.
Do you believe Hockey Canada is trying to change the narrative here? And what did the testimony today say about the organization right now?
Oh, they've been trying to change the narrative for months on this, ever since the story broke about the 2018 sexual assault incident that occurred in London, Ontario. They're in damage mode right from April, May. They continue to be in damage mode. They've, brought in outside sources to kind of spin their narrative. Navigator being one. The other one, they're taking public surveys, blaming the media that they claim has really done an injustice against Hockey Canada. So it's been damage mode right from April, May. Tom Rennie was the CEO, stepped down, retired July 1st, and Scott Smith. We had him in committee in June, again in July, and today we had the former and current board chair, because we really haven't divulged what the CEOs told the board, and we wanted to learn more information between the board and the CEO and how that has been going on for the last number of years.
And before we let you go, Mr. Waugh, what happens next? Will there be further committee meetings, and are you hoping to hear from the survivor in the 2018 assault?
That's an interesting question. Right now, the lady that was assaulted, EM, is all we know, and I think we want to keep her out of this. And I do think around the board table of Canadian Heritage, all parties want to protect her identity. The next thing that I think is going to happen, and we'll see this in a couple of weeks, is the former CEO of Hockey Canada, Bob Nicholson, is going to join the committee. Bob was one of the first, if not the first, CEO of Hockey Canada from 1989 on. He resigned, I think, in about 2014, and then Tom Rennie took over. But under Nicholson's reign as CEO, they became the most powerful sport organization in the country. But I think Canadians want to clean everything out and start over. It's like a sports team. When you have a bad year, you clean the president out, the general manager, the head coach, the players are gone, and you start from scratch. I think that is the only way we solve Hockey Canada going forward in this country. And I think the sports minister needs to step up, and also in the House of Commons today, actually, St. Onge did say that. They want to do a complete audit back from 2016. But the mom and dads that have put their hard-earned money into this organization deserve answers, Nicole. They have yet to receive the answers I think they want to hear, and it's oblivious from the board table and from the CEOs, Rennie and Scott Smith, that they think they did anything wrong, and that's appalling to Canadians.
Well, you said it there best. Canadians deserve to know more. That's Kevin Waugh, Conservative MP and Deputy Shadow Minister for Canadian Heritage. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks very much, Nicole. Take care.
And we wanted to hear from our audience today and what you at home think about the Hockey Canada allegations. We asked you on Twitter what changes you would like to see for the organization to regain trust. One saying, fire everyone at the top and start over. There is now zero trust in this organization. And if I had a kid in hockey, I'd be pretty ticked off that I'm essentially giving them hush money. Another posting this, they should all be fired. Gaslighting to the max. It's exactly this today, why they all need to be fired. Hashtag Zero Insight. A question that certainly stood out was this: why aren't these violent allegations being heard throughout other sports organizations? Why Hockey Canada? To weigh in on this and to dive deep into the culture of hockey, let's bring in sports analyst and award-winning journalist Ashley Docking. Ashley, thank you for joining us tonight. It's good to have you back on CHCH.
Thanks for having me, Nicole. I'm glad to be here.
Ashley, the Globe and Mail reports have really brought to the forefront here the real turmoil within Hockey Canada. Do you believe that there's really any going forward from this? What more does this organization have to do?
It's not a tough fix, in my opinion, but the problem that we see in hockey over and over again is that it's kind of this old boys club, right? Is that it's recycled coaches, GMs, front office staff. Again and again, you see the same people who are upholding the same systems continue to be put in places of power. And I kind of ask you this in a layman's term kind of scenario. How many times have someone in your life that's been toxic said, I'm going to change, I promise I'm going to change? And how many times has that actually come true? Barely, very rarely, because inherently, if that's who you are and that's the system you uphold, it's very difficult to veer in a different direction. And I think that's why everybody's calling for a full overhaul, a full change. And today, Andrea Skinner, the interim chair of the board, said, well, what would we do if we cleaned house? Everything would fall apart. How would we keep lights on at the rink? I think it would be fine. There's probably thousands of people that are qualified to run an organization of this magnitude, thousands of people that love the game, thousands of people that have a view of what is actually right, what is actually acceptable, who would be willing to step in and hold this organization up. But as it stands now, I believe that most people, except for I think maybe the board of directors, are in agreement that there has to be a full overhaul.
No kidding, and a big change could really maybe bring back some sponsorships and maybe some federal funding. But you made a good point on Twitter yesterday. All the players and people who were involved, well, they're still complicit. Does Hockey Canada appear to understand the seriousness of that fact when it comes to regaining trust from the public here?
I thought it was an interesting marketing and PR spin that Andrea Skinner kind of played into, and so did the man that she replaced, Michael Brendamore. They were talking about, they gave money to this victim of the 2018 sexual assault, $3.55 million as a matter of fact, because they wanted to keep her safe. They didn't want to bring her into a trial where she would have to incur lawyers' costs, where she would have to be summoned to testify, where she would have to be put kind of on the stand and in the public sphere. Okay, fine. So you wanted to save her all of that. But what actually does need to happen as well is consequences. And it really kind of showed the hand of Hockey Canada that they think that money is all important as opposed to accountability as well. Because the reason that we're in this situation and the reason that these junior hockey players have this stereotype surrounding them and their game that it's just a toxic culture is because again and again, we've seen it happen. And so a stereotype, of course, is a generalization. It may not be a universal truth, but it's when things happen again and again. And a lot of times we shy away from the word of stereotype because it's used in negative situations, particularly surrounding race, religion, gender. And of course, those things are used to demean and divide and really hold people down. But sometimes stereotypes are things that are accurate, whether it's, oh, this biker wears leather all the time. Yeah, okay, maybe it's for safety, but it is something that we come to expect. And so when you think about hockey and you think about the culture, of course, not everybody is out here engaging in group sexual assaults, but enough have and have gotten away with it that it's turned into a problem where you need people who are going to go out on a limb and do the right thing and kind of break up this solitude that has been built from the powers that be, because right now we're not seeing that at all. And it's the reason that we're in this situation. And Nicole, you know, I kind of think back to talking with some of my girlfriends about things like this. I know that 90% of my girlfriends, including myself, have faced sexual assault, sexual harassment, but I bet you if you were in a room with a group of men and you ask them how many have committed sexual assault, sexual harassment, or know somebody that has, the number would be exponentially lower. So the math isn't mathing. And I'm under the impression that the men who are in charge of Hockey Canada and these hockey organizations, they relate more to the person being accused than the actual victim. And so that's why they're able to uphold this with a clear conscience, it seems.
Well, we can only hope that Hockey Canada is listening to your message tonight and the message of many other Canadians. Ashley Docking joining us live. Ashley, we always appreciate your take on what has been a major story in this country and will continue to be.
Thank you.
Coming up on Trending Now, the latest on Hurricane Fiona relief efforts for Canada's East Coast.
Resilience of Atlantic Canadians is well known. These are communities where people look out for each other.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing a new fund to help Atlantic Canada rebuild. The details and the future of these catastrophic storms after the break. We've talked a lot about natural disasters, climate change, hurricanes on CHCH. Environmental defense groups say people should sadly just get used to hearing about them on a more continual scale. It appears the federal government here in Canada is well aware of that.
There are countless businesses in the region that are, even as they clean up, wondering how they're going to be able to rebuild. And so today, the federal government is announcing the new $300 million Hurricane Fiona Recovery Fund.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing the $300 million fund today to help post-tropical storm Fiona recovery efforts on the East Coast. Several communities in Atlantic Canada were decimated by the storm, with power grids disabled and thousands left in the dark.
This fund will be administered through Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, ACOA, and Développement économique Canada pour les régions du Québec, DEC, as well as other federal departments. This funding will support projects to repair and rebuild storm-damaged critical infrastructure such as wharves, support the cleanup of fishing gear so that boats and marine life can once again safely navigate these waters, of course, help local businesses and communities rebuild and recover. The resilience of Atlantic Canadians is well known. These are communities where people look out for each other, where people step up for each other, where we're there to help each other out. And I can tell you, Canadians from coast to coast to coast are worried about their fellow Canadians here in Atlantic Canada, and will continue to step up and support.
The fund will provide assistance over the next 2 years. The storm hit the region on September 24th, sweeping away homes, tearing off roofs, and knocking out power to more than 500,000 homes and businesses. Researchers say stronger hurricanes are becoming more common. Studies have found they are 3 times more frequent than 100 years ago. Hurricane Ian in the United States quickly became one of the worst disasters in the country's history. Looking for any signs of life, crews in Florida have been going door to door. Hurricane Ian's death toll is rising as crews in Florida intensified their search for survivors today. At last count, at least 104 have been killed in Florida, with 55 of them in Lee County alone.
We're probably still another 3 to 4 days left in search and rescue and recovery. So that's a rough time frame that could go in either direction. These are not numbers. This is family members. People didn't just lose their homes. We can rebuild a home. We can get another boat. But when you lose a loved one, there's just no words that can describe how we feel for that family. So we hope and pray those numbers stay as low as possible.
Tragically, some people still don't know the whereabouts of their loved ones. Officials saying today that it's unclear how many are still missing. Plus, it could take several weeks to restore power to the hundreds of thousands of people who remain in the dark tonight. Coming up on Trending Now, the latest stories you've been reacting to online. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. From YouTube creator drama to Kanye West to Super Mario, there's been a lot of buzzing topics swirling around the internet today. Here's your look at what's trending now.
Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys.
The Try Guys will remove former member Ned Fulmer from future videos following what they call a shocking cheating scandal.
We want to give you a timeline of what's transpired and some transparency into our decision making.
Try Guys members Eugene Yang, Keith Habersberger, and Zach Kornfeld confirmed in the video what fans had suspected. Fulmer, who is married, had an affair with an unnamed staffer.
La, 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 la. Ned's way too in his element today. This dude loves weddings.
Weddings! My name's Ned Fulmer and I love 2 things, weddings and my wife.
In their first video statement since the news broke the internet, the trio confirmed that Fulmer's presence in their videos is being erased, both going forward and retroactively. When I was born to coal miner's daughter, Loretta Lynn has died at the age of 90. The Kentucky coal miner's daughter was a pillar of country music. Lynn wrote unfiltered songs about sex and love, cheating husbands, divorce, and birth control that sometimes got her into trouble with radio programmers. Her best-selling 1976 autobiography was made into a movie. Sissy Spacek won an Oscar for her portrayal of Lynn. Dolly Parton remembered Loretta on Twitter, writing, "We've been like sisters all these years. We've been in Nashville, and she was a wonderful human being, wonderful talent, had millions of fans, and I'm one of them. I miss her dearly, as we all will."
I am Ye, and everyone here knows that I am the leader.
Well, Kanye West wore a shirt featuring the words "White Lives Matter" during his Yeezy Season 9 event at Paris Fashion Week. West wore the shirt throughout the show, and the look could be seen on full display during the show in different looks worn by models. Outrage over the White Lives Matter shirt exploded on social media almost immediately. One user writing, "Strange Kanye West would wear a White Lives Matter shirt at a show, essentially begging for white industry approval in the fashion industry." West posted an Instagram story today defending the shirt. He wrote, "Everyone knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it's over. You're welcome."
Jinkies! And as promised, here are your Scooby snacks. Jinkies.
Velma is officially a lesbian. Clips from the brand new movie Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo confirm suspicions held by the fan base for decades. It's even been an open secret among Scooby-Doo creatives that Velma is gay. James Gunn, who wrote the early live-action films, and Tony Servone, who served as a supervising producer on the Mystery Incorporated series, have confirmed the character's sexuality, but they were never able to make it official on screen. Mamma mia, Mario and his brother Luigi have been staples in the video game world since 1985, with 49 different installments of their game Super Mario Bros. Now they're getting a movie. Nintendo has announced a Nintendo Direct presentation this Thursday to reveal the first trailer for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and has unveiled a poster with tons of tiny details to pore over. We see a Toad Town filled with several different colored Toad characters. We see some of the Mario series' iconic hills on a larger scale, some Mario Galaxy-type floating islands, and of course, Peach's castle sitting above it all. However, the anticipation for the movie can't really be attributed to Mario's long-standing cultural holding. It's because Chris Pratt will take on the title role, and the internet has been dying to hear how that will all turn out. Thanks for joining us this evening on Trending Now. If you missed any of our shows this week, be sure to tune into our podcast dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. That's our show. We'll see you and what's trending tomorrow.